freedom, wealth, and prosperity. The Irish were suffering from the potato famine in the 1840s, so of course they would think to come to America. But what they didn't realize is they weren't going to get what they were looking for right off the bat.
Had an extremely difficult time finding jobs, and most were thought of as only good for being servants. Many would be looking for jobs only to find the No Irish Need Apply sign hanging on the door next to the No Dogs Allowed sign.
Americans were distrustful of the fact that Irish Catholic faith seemed irregular and more traditionally oriented than the Protestants. They didn't approve of rosary prayers, their honor for the Holy Mother, saints, or statues.
Of all the foreigners that came to America and were discriminated against, many of which were of different race and different skin color and looked very different from the Americans, but the Irish looked exactly the same and had the same skin color, so why do you think they were still persecuted?
Well, I know that the Irish were Catholic and many Americans were Protestant, and the Catholics have more rituals than the Protestants do, and so that's probably why they were so discriminated, because they did stuff differently.
So that brings me to my next question. I do know that many Irish were ostracized from society because of their Catholic beliefs and religion. Do you think Catholicism is still viewed as highly irregular today?
No, not at all. I mean, I'm a Catholic, and there are so many other people who are Catholic too, and we fit in just as much as anyone else does, so, I mean, no, not at all.
Because of American dislike for them, they were labeled as idiots and oftentimes drunks. Propaganda cartoons were released displaying Irishmen as these things, and many of them were drawn by cartoonist Thomas Nast.
Americans developed a stereotype that Irish people were alcoholics and were known for bar brawls. You've heard of the saying, making something Irish, when referring to drinks. Typically, to make it Irish, you put a little bit of alcohol in it. The expression, "don't get your Irish up," became very popular as well in reference to how the Irish were constantly intoxicating themselves.
I think it would be hard living as an Irish person in America at the time because everyone around you was persecuting you and hating you, but the Know Nothing Party was extremely against the Irish and Catholic, so it would be having the government against you as well.
Oh, all the money that e'er I spent it in good company, and all the harm that e'er I've done, alas, it was to none but me, and all I've done for want of wit to memory now I can't recall. So feel.
Eugenicists are people who are advocates of the idea of creating the perfect race. You see examples of this during World War II when Hitler tried to kill off any people groups he considered imperfect. Examples of the groups Hitler considered imperfect were the Gypsies, the homosexuals, and the most well-known group, the Jews. In the 1910s, eugenics was taught in many colleges in the United States.
The research of it was funded by some of the richest families at the time, including the Rockefellers and the Carnegies. Unfortunately, the Irish were of these groups considered imperfect.
Discrimination. The act or practice of discriminating unfairly, prejudiced outlook or action.
People often ask the question, how do we stop discrimination, or how do we stop persecuting people? But in reality, it's our job. We are the next generation, and it's up to us to stop it. There's no programs we can really make besides the choices we make in our everyday lives.
Peter A. Quinn says, we need to remind ourselves that immigrants are not a single genus. They come in all shapes and sizes. They have immense strengths and talents as well as liabilities. Their potential for enriching and enlivening the societies that receive them is every bit as real as the difficulties their presence can create.